Okay, I think we are set.
Okay. All right. So I think should I now start?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Good morning to you, learners. And how are you? Yes, this is our lesson today, and this is teacher Busuulwa who is going to be taking you through this lesson as usual. But again, before we start up our lesson, I would like someone from you to give us a short prayer, and then we'll start off our lesson. So if you are willing, please put up your hand. Okay, I've got one. I have Rebecca. Please unmute yourself.
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. Let us humble ourselves for the word of prayer. Our Father, we thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for the gift of life, for the gift of friends, for the gift of teachers. We thank you, Lord, that we are here studying. Many people are there suffering with studies, but for us, we are stable. And I thank you for that. And I also pray for them that they can be with us and study so that we go back to school when we are not bad at all. I pray when our parents are at work to be safe. And I pray that by the end of this lesson, we should get it. I pray this in all Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you so much for that prayer. Such a wonderful prayer. So we are starting up our lesson today. Of course, to remind you, we are still looking at rebellions in East Africa. We started with the Nandi rebellion. We are done. Now we are looking at the Abushiri rebellion. And then we'll also be looking at other rebellions in East Africa. Yes, for now, this is our, you can see on the screen, we've got a Christian School Owners Association. We have Edify Uganda and then Itau. Yes, this is a program sponsored by Edify Uganda in collaboration with Christian School Owners Association, together with Itau. So here we are having our history lesson. Of course, the lesson is going to be by me, teacher Busuulwa Joseph, as you can see. And there is my pick also, okay? Yes, so history by me, you can see very well there. So we are looking at rebellions in East Africa. That is the general topic we are looking at. And under rebellions in East Africa, you can see there is a pic there of the rebellions of people fighting. You can see some black people there fighting with whites. I can see white man down, meaning that also whites were killed during this rebellion, as Africans were also being killed. So two sides lost lives, you can see from there. Yes, this one we looked at, and we are not going to waste time there. We looked at all this information here. So we started the Abushiri rebellion the other time, and we also looked at that man there. That image is an image of this person called Abushiri. So the rebellion we are looking at took place between 1888 to 1890, and we looked at the causes. We looked at the introduction and then the causes the other time. So we are not going to waste a lot of time there because we looked at all this information here. So that means today we are going to look at the cause of the Abushiri rebellion, and then after we'll also look at something else after looking at the cause of the Abushiri rebellion. Now, I remember the other time telling you that when we are looking at the cause, we are looking at a story. This is a narration of a story, but a story that is broken down in points, okay? A story that is broken down in points. And we begin with the events that occurred first to the events that came in last, meaning that there is some chronology there. That chronological order is so much important. When someone is looking at the cause of the rebellion, for example, this Abushiri rebellion, and then someone starts with a point like this one, that Abushiri was arrested in 1889 and then killed. That is your first statement. Surely there is no chronology there. You cannot start up with a point that came in last, that a point that is among the last points, okay? So it is better we begin with the events that occurred first to the events that came in last. So we are now looking at the course. So before I give you my arrangement of the course, I would like to hear from you. If you've got some information about the cause of the rebellion, you can please put up your hand and then contribute. If you have anything. Okay, I have Ronald here. Ronald, you can unmute yourself.
The Abushiri uprising took place in 1890 and it was led by Abushiri and it was named by the Swahili traders.
Ronald, you are not clear. You are not clear. I don't know that you are far away from your microphone. Can you come again? We've not heard you very well.
The Abushiri uprising took place in 1888 to 1890, and this was led by Abushiri bin Salim, who was a sugarcane trader, a sugarcane planter and a trader, and it was mainly dominated by the Swahili traders. This rebellion was mainly between the Tanganyika traders. It was between the Arabs and the natives of Tanganyika against the whites or the Germans.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for that information you've given us. But I can only tell you that you've given us so many points in one paragraph. You've given us a lot in one paragraph. And the moment you write it that way, that will be only one mark. But if you had broken it down into different points, then you would be getting different, marks there. So many marks from what you've given us. But nevertheless, thank you so much for that contribution. You've told us it was a rebellion that started in 1888, 1890, and all that information. Thank you so much, because that is all we begin with. Okay, I have Tracy Hope. You can unmute yourself.
The Abushiri rebellion was the earliest rebellion in Tanganyika, and it took place in the coastal areas of Tanganyika between 1888 and 1890.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, the Abushiri rebellion was among the first rebellions by the Tanzanians against the Germans. Thank you so much. Then there is Annette. Annette, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, Master.
Yes, waiting.
Master.
Yes.
The refusal of Abushiri to raise the German flag sparked off the rebellion.
Yes, thank you for that. The refusal of Abushiri to raise the German flag. Remember, the Sultan of Zanzibar had signed a treaty with the Germans, a treaty that had given away Tanganyika to these Germans. So the moment the Germans wanted you to raise their flag, the people of Tanganyika said, no, we cannot actually allow that, and that is part of the rebellion. Thank you for that contribution. Then I have Liam. You can unmute yourself. Liam?
Yes, teacher, the Germans were taken by surprise, and so in the initial stages, they were defeated. Oh yes. Thank you again for that. Yeah, the Germans were taken by surprise, by the way. In the initial stages, they were defeated. They were besieged at Bagamoyo, but again, they had to call in for assistance from home, which was given, and then later on, the people of the interior and Abushiri were defeated. Thank you for that, Liam. Then Blessing, can unmute yourself.
Okay, it was led by Abushiri bin Salim, a great leader of Afro-Arab origin.
Okay, yes, thank you. But it was led by Abushiri. Yes, it was led by Abushiri. That is indeed very true. Okay, Blessing, unmute yourself.
The rebellion abruptly and spontaneously spread to other areas, for example, Tanga, Kilwa, and Mikindini.
Yes, thank you, thank you. It spontaneously spread to other areas. The moment it was started, then it spread to the different areas, coastal areas, and then later on the interior. Okay, thank you. Mariam has already contributed. Then Benjamin, you can unmute.
Yes. I was saying the pressure exerted on Abushiri, these people started rebelling against the Germans such as Chira, Bagamoyo.
Okay, there was pressure exerted on the Germans. Yes, that is true. Thank you for that. Thank you for that contribution. Mariam, are you giving us another point? Mariam. Mariam?
Yes, teacher. Yes.
Your contribution.
They were caught. They were caught, yeah. The Germans were caught unaware, so they suffered heavy losses. Have you heard, teacher?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I've heard very well your contribution that the Germans were caught unaware. That is very true, and that was at Bagamoyo, where they were besieged, but later on they had to call in for some assistance. And then von Wiesmann was, of course, dispatched. He came and reinforced the Germans. Okay, I have Halima.
Company officials were beaten and driven out of all coastal towns.
Yes, company officials were beaten. Of course, that is at the initial stages. Thank you. But then later on, as I've already told you, they were in position to fight and defeat the Abushiri and these people. Maria. Maria. Yes, Maria, we are waiting for your contribution. Okay, I think Maria, yes.
Abushiri retreated into the interior and had 500 Mavit fighters.
Yes, thank you for that. Abushiri retreated into the interior, hired 500 Mavit fighters and Luga mercenaries, but these ones did not help him. Yes, that is true. Thank you. Then Moses Jr., you can unmute yourself. Moses Jr. Please unmute. Okay, I think Moses has issues there. Then I have Rachel. Okay, Moses. Okay, Rachel, unmute yourself.
In the southern part of the coast, majors and took Kilwa, Lindi, and Makindani.
Okay, okay. Now, thank you for all your contributions. Thank you. In the interest of time, let me also try to give you what I have prepared for you here, because I can see people's hands are still up and we are repeating ourselves. We have already given all what you are giving. So let me try to also give you what I have prepared for you here, and then we go and look at something else. There is that point there. No one has actually given me. Oh, I think someone contributed that the rebellion is also actually no one. The rebellion sometimes was referred to as the Arab or Coastal Rebellion. The Arab or Coastal Rebellion, meaning that it took place at the coast of East Africa. That one you must know. Okay. In the chat here, someone was telling me the rebellion started on 8th August 18. The figure you gave. You check yourself. Someone is asking, are we in Form 4? No. Okay. So we said it is referred to as Arab or Coastal Rebellion. There is that other statement. that it was the first major resistance against the German colonial rule in Tanganyika. Indeed, and someone mentioned it, so we are not going to waste a lot of time there. So we are saying the rebellion was led by Abushiri bin Salim, who was later joined by Bwana Heri. It is true, and one of you gave us this point that it was led by Abushiri bin Salim. So you can see the chronology. We've started with events that came first. We do not look at events that came last at the beginning. No. So here we are saying Arabs, Swahili, and Africans were all mobilized and joined the rebellion. Indeed, this is very true. It was a rebellion of the Arabs, the Swahili, the Africans against the Germans. Okay. Okay, someone saying in the Pangani district, see where the German. Okay. That is from the chat. There is nothing much. So we have seen that information. There is also this one here, that the revolt started when Abushiri's people refused the hoisting of the German flag and instead rioted against them. It is true. Remember, I've already told you that the Sultan of Zanzibar had given away Tanganyika to the Germans. And when the Germans tried to raise up their flag, the people of Tanganyika said, no, this is our country, we still need our independence. That is how the rebellion started. So the rebellion then abruptly and spontaneously spread to other areas like Kirwa, Bagamoyo, Tanga, Mukidini. It is so you can see. Remember, I told you we are narrating a story, but a story that is broken down in points. You can see now the story is in points, and each is a point you give, that is a mark. Each point you give, that is a mark. Okay. So we have this other point here that some Bantu tribes at the coast joined, such as the Bonda, the Skua, and so many other people. Okay. So the point is, let us begin with the events that came first, and then those ones that came last should also follow. That is what we call chronology. You can see that other point there, that the Germans at first were caught unaware and therefore suffered heavy losses. Someone gave that point, and thank you to whoever contributed that. Then the company officials were beaten and also driven out of all coastal areas. Yes, this information was already has also been given by someone, that the company officials, which company? The German East African Company. Okay, these company officials were beaten by the Africans that were rioting and driven out of all of the coastal towns. But was it the end of the rebellion? No, it wasn't the end of the rebellion. I've already told you the Germans cried out to their country, and then reinforcement was sent. Von Wiesmann was sent and defeated these people. So by October 1888, the German East African Company officials were besieged in Bagamoyo and Dar es Salaam. Bagamoyo, Dar es Salaam, the German East African Company officials were besieged. You understand? They were, I don't know that I should use the word surrounded, something like that, similar to that, okay? They were besieged, and then they were forced to cry out for help from home, which help was given by their country. Okay. There is that other statement that the German East African Company asked for reinforcement from their home, which was later sent. At this point, von Wiesmann was dispatched from Germany to suppress the resistance. Von Wiesmann. You can hear me pronouncing that name as Wiesmann, yet it has got a W. Yes, the Germans do not have a W in the pronunciation. A W is pronounced as a V. That is why I'm reading this name as von Wiesmann. Okay, though some people would call it Wiesmann, but it is Wiesmann because the Germans don't have a W in the pronunciation. That is the man we are talking about, von Wiesmann. This man was sent, and at the end of the day, Wiesmann defeated Abushiri, who was hanged in December 1889. There is that other statement here, that he was assisted by Zulus, Somalis, Nubians, and Turkish troops. Hence, the resistance started to crumble. You understand that this man was assisted by the Takshi troops, the Zulus, the Nubians, and at the end of the day, yes, Abushiri was defeated. Okay. Okay, Husna says by 15th December 1889, most of his followers had deserted him. Indeed, that is true. Most of the followers of Abushiri had deserted him. We shall see that, of course, he left the coast. He had a lot of support from the coast. Then the moment he left to the interior, in the interior, he never had support from there. That is why he was finally defeated. There is that other point. He first captured Pangan and then moved northwards to Dar es Salaam. Automatically von Wiesmann. Okay, von Wiesmann captured Pangan, then later on Dar es Salaam. Following his success, many Arabs who had supported Abushiri opted to make peace with the Germans. This weakened the rebellion. So you can see things are now turning round. At first, Abushiri and these people had defeated the Germans. Initially, they had tried to defeat the Germans. You can even see we talked about besieging the German officers at Bagamoyo. You understand? But here we are now looking at things reversing. You understand? So now the Arabs who had initially supported Abushiri had now opted for making peace with him, the Germans. Now, smelling defeat, Abushiri retreated into the interior and hired 500 Maviti fighters and Ruga mercenaries. You understand? But did these people help him? That is the question. But I would also answer, no, they did not help him at all. Okay? So from the chat, this means that 1 year after von Wiesmann was sent, Abushiri was defeated. Indeed, Abushiri was defeated. Okay. Yes, this is another statement, but this did not save the situation because they were only interested in looting. Who? The Ruga and the Maviti fighters. These were interested in looting. They did not help Abushiri. That is why Abushiri was defeated. And I can also tell you, Abushiri was a sugarcane planter. He was not a soldier. He was a trader, and he did not have the tactics of leading the soldiers. He was not a good orator. Otherwise, if he was a good orator, he would have convinced the Ruga trade, the mercenaries, would have convinced the Maviti fighters to help him in this way. But they did not know the reason as to why they were fighting. That is why some of them did not put in a lot. And Abushiri was finally defeated. Okay? Someone is asking, were they 500 or 5,000? It was 5,000, not 5. Oh, no, I mean it was 500, sorry. 500, not 5,000. Hey, raising 5,000, that was too much. Okay. Okay. Now we don't have time. Someone says, can you go back to the first page? Oh, we have a lot to cover. Now, if you've missed out on the first page, please, you will find this work on YouTube. This work will be in the Google Classroom, everywhere. It will even be in your WhatsApp groups. So don't worry about that. The recordings are there. Okay. So, we have said that Ruga did not help him. On 15th December 1889, Abushiri was betrayed by a Jumbe called Magaya of Usagara, who reported him to the Germans. Yes. A Jumbe called Magaya of Sagara reported him to the Germans. He was captured and then killed. Okay, he was hanged actually, and this this led to loss of morale by the followers of Abushiri. Okay, of course, a Jumbe, these the Akidas and Jumbes were slave masters. Okay. Okay. There is that one. Abushiri was eventually caught and hanged at Bagamoyo, meaning that we are coming to the end of the course. We are saying Abushiri was eventually caught and hanged at Bagamoyo. Okay. from the chat, please. Okay. Links are there. Someone wants to be added to the WhatsApp group. Links are there. Visit the Christian School Owners Association. Go to the website and then visit Christian School Owners Association. The links are there. Everything is there. You will be added to the WhatsApp group. You will actually tap on the link and then you are added automatically. Okay. Abushiri had used Islam to rally support from his supporters. Okay. At first, he used the conventional warfare or direct confrontation, which did not actually help at the end of the day. After sensing the possibility of defeat, he embarked him on a guerrilla warfare of hit and run. Yes, so many Africans used such a trick when they were fighting against him. The colonialists. His weaponry consisted of local arms, old-fashioned guns, bows and arrows, spears and clubs. So you can imagine he was fighting against the Germans that were using the Maxim gun, and for him was using bows and arrows, spears and clubs, and automatically the point is he had to be defeated. Someone is saying, what if I raise all the 15 points and stop in the middle of the rebellion? Okay. You've raised the 15 points topic. Now, I would advise you give some points at the beginning and then you move up to the end there. You skip those ones in the middle. That is if you've raised the 15 points, okay? 15 or 16 around there. You give those ones from the beginning and then rush to the end. You skip out those ones in the middle, okay? Because you may not give all these ones. I've given almost 20 something, okay? And yes, we need around 16 there. If the question is out of 13 and then you give 16, you are on the right track. Okay. Someone is saying, am I supposed to recite the whole story? You may not. This is the answer I've been actually giving. Okay. But of course, I am teaching, and that is the reason I'm giving you a variety such that you can pick from there. You understand it? You may forget. If I give you a few, you might forget them. I give you 10, you forget 6, and then you remember only 4. That is not right, okay? There is that other point. The Germans, on the other hand, had superior weapons like the machine guns and bombs. Yes, but Africans were using arrows, you can imagine, spears, clubs, and all that. Then there is that one in April 1890, Bwana Heri desperately surrendered to the Germans. Yes. Remember, we said it was Abushiri helped by Bwana Heri. Bwana Heri also surrendered to the Germans in 1890. What does it mean? That the rebellion was no more. Now, by January 1891, the resistance was crushed, and the German government replaced the company as the new rulers of the German East African protectorate. Okay, so automatically that is a sign that we are done. We've looked at the course and we are done. Okay, I was actually telling you, someone from the chat is asking, how would we write? How would we give the course? This is in a summary format. This is what you do. First of all, the points must be chronological. One event must be leading you to another event, meaning that you begin with the events that occurred first to the events that occurred last. But I've been telling you, I've given so many points, and you may not need to give all these ones when you are doing an exam, when you are writing an exam. You may not have all that time when you are writing an exam. Remember, an exam is out of 13, okay? The marks are 13. When you give 25 points on a question that has got 13 marks, you are extravagant. You are wasting a lot of time there. What do you do? Give around 15, 16 points. Why 16, 15 points? Because if you give 13, okay, 5 of them might be wrong. Are you getting it? And then you lose. So it is better you give around 16, and if 3 are wrong, then you get all the 13 right, okay? So that is normally what we do. So what you do, begin with the events that came first. You may skip those ones in between there, and then you move to the last events, and then you show that indeed the rebellion did not succeed. Okay, because you have to show that Abushiri was killed. You have to tell us that even Bwana Heri surrendered. And what does that mean? That the Germans were successful against him, the Africans. Okay. Now we have a few minutes to look at why this uprising failed. Okay. So I'm giving you, let me see, we've got around 19 minutes. I'm giving you 10 minutes to contribute to the failure of the rebellion, and then I also come in and give you what I have prepared for you. Now, someone who is using admin, we actually advised you the other time to rename yourselves. Okay, rename yourself. You put there the right name. I'm not looking at you, Chirabo. Unmute yourself.
Because Abushiri rebellion, because the Abushiri were using weak weapons compared to the Germans.
Oh, Jovia, your network was not clear. If you can only come again. Jovia, I've actually not heard you very well. You were breaking. I don't know what has happened. Okay. Ronald.
Yes, sir.
Yes, give us your contribution.
The use of inferior weapons by the Abushiri compared to the superior weapons which were used by the Germans led to that.
Okay, thank you so much. Your point is noted. Inferior weapons. Indeed, Africans used inferior weapons. Africans used the arrows. Africans used the spears. The Tanzanians used what? And, clubs. You understand? So they were fighting against the German who was using guns, the Maxim gun. Are you getting it? So at the end of the day, they could not defeat the Germans. Tracy, unmute yourself.
The Coastal people had a poor military organization. That is to say, they were disorganized and they lacked proper coordination.
Thank you so much. They were disorganized. They lacked proper coordination against the German who was properly organized. Okay, thank you. I have another person here. This is Fahia.
There were divisions among Arabs, and as a result, some refused to support the rebellion and given support to the German against Abushiri.
These Africans were divided. Can you imagine Jumbe Magaya reported Abushiri, and then Abushiri was killed? And that's the reason why Magaya had to report Abushiri, and then he was caught and killed in December 1889. Blessing. Yes, please.
Yeah, so this person who is using admin, I'm going to first put him in the waiting room. I don't know that you told him that he should rename and put the name. All students, please always rename yourselves with your name. On Zoom, there is an option for rename. And I've been seeing this one. I think it is his or her phone on Zoom, which has this name. And I'm also seeing someone called JB, and we are going to start penalizing. Once we see you have not put your name, we are going to remove you from the classes. So that is what I just wanted to pass on, Mr. Busuulwa.
Yes, actually, I've just talked to the person using admin to the name himself or herself, and I have not even chosen her. The hand was up and then I lowered it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Let me try to work on that. You can proceed.
Okay, please. Thank you. Blessing, you can give us your contribution.
Abushiri had never been a military man, so were his followers who lacked military training.
Yes, thank you so much. Abushiri was just a sugarcane planter, and the sugarcane planter could not actually mobilize the people very well. That is why this power were easily defeated. Okay. I have Benjamin. Please unmute.
Yes. Abushiri fighters surrendered to the Germans and this made the rebellion to flow.
Yes, thank you so much. The fighters surrendered. And at the end of the day, when you surrender, automatically the rebellion is now done. So the fighters surrendered. Otherwise, you remember we talked about Bwana Heri. Bwana Heri surrendered and he was a leader. Automatically, when a leader surrenders, even the followers also surrender. Thank you for that. Yeah, Sam Chirabo from the chat, the betrayal of Abushiri. Yeah, that is true. He was betrayed by Magaya. Then why? Oh, okay. Someone is saying that other reasons why it failed the same as problems. Somehow different. But you can pick some and then they become problems. For example, when you talk about betrayal by Magaya, it becomes a problem. You understand? So some of them can be taken to the other side. Okay. Then Benedict says Abushiri lacked stronger weapons. Yes, that is true. Thank you for that, Benedict. Then the death of Abushiri. Yes, that is from Jovia. Thank you. Okay. The reorganization of the Germany. Thank you. That is from Chirabe again. Okay, thank you. Then I have Norin. Norin, you can unmute yourself. Norin, please unmute yourself.
The 500 Maviti mercenaries recruited by Abushiri lacked interest in war. Instead of fighting, they are just looting from the Germans.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. These people were not interested in the war. Actually, all they came to do is to loot, and they were looting from the Germans. And this is what I told you, that maybe this sugarcane planter, Abushiri, of course, did not actually brief them very well. If he had briefed them very well, it would be such an easy game for him, but he did not brief them very well. By the way, on this point, if I'm to talk about briefly one of the historians, one of the great fighters we talk about in history, one of the great fighters is called Napoleon. I believe you've ever heard about this man. At a moment, this man was made commander of the French forces, and he didn't know where to start from. And because he was a very good orator, the very first words to the soldiers actually gave him a lot of support from the soldiers. He told them, soldiers, you are badly fed, nearly naked. The government owes you much but pays you nothing. I am going to lead you into the fertile plains of the world, from where you will reap honor and glory. You understand? These were such wonderful words to the soldiers, and they all supported him. Now, if Abushiri was like that man in Napoleon, he would have convinced the Ruga mercenaries and then the Maviti fighters like Napoleon did. But this man did not, okay? And that is why finally he was defeated, okay? Norin.
The Germans were determined to crush the rebellion because they wanted to colonize Tanganyika.
Okay, determination actually. Thank you, Norin, for that point. The point is determination. The Germans were determined, and indeed, yes, they wanted to take over Tanganyika. Then Aneti, the Arabs were not supported by their home governments. Yes, thank you, Anet, for that from the chat. Mariam. Unmute yourself.
Yes. Abushiri betrayed some African chief who collaborated with the Germans, Igi Mugaya.
Okay.
Have you heard?
Yes, Abushiri was you are talking about people that betrayed him, and you are talking about Magaya. Yes, Jumbe Magaya of Usagara betrayed Abushiri, and that is why he was finally defeated. Patience.
The landscape at the coast did not have defensive barriers, so they could easily be spotted, which contributed to their defeat.
Yes, thank you so much. The landscape, okay. It was such a flat area where Africans could not hide from the bullets, and that is why they were killed by these bullets. Rachel. Okay, we've got only 5 minutes to the end of the lesson. I think I should also show you what I prepared for you. Thank you for all the contributions. Still, I'm seeing your hands up, but in the interest of time, let me first look at what I prepared for you, and then I will come back to you if we still have time. Military training, that is point number 1. There was lack of military training, okay? Abushiri had never been a military man, but a sugarcane planter, meaning that he was not trained and the soldiers were not also trained. That is why they were defeated. The Germans had superior weapons such as the Maxim gun compared to the inferior weapons of Africans, sticks, arrows, and so many others. Can you imagine? Now that is the Maxim gun, if you can see. Are you seeing the Maxim gun? Oh, sorry. Are you seeing the Maxim gun? That is the Maxim gun. They were using that gun, which was invented in 1884 by a man called Maxim, and he named it after his name. So this Maxim gun so much helped the Germans, and Maxim, I think, was from Britain. Okay, yeah, from Britain. This man invented this gun, and it was so much used by the Germans in this war, and they were in position to defeat these Africans. Okay. Okay, the Germans used cruel methods from the chat. That is from Mariam. Yes, death of strong leaders like Abushiri from the chat. Thank you. And that is Benjamin. Okay. There is this other point here. Abushiri lacked a united command since every town fought independently. Yes, every town fought independently. I'm assuming we are looking at Uganda. There is a group fighting in Masaka, there is a group fighting in Karamoja, there is a group fighting in Mubende, there is a group fighting in Kampala. You understand it? And these groups are not coordinated. I've used that example, okay? But we are talking about Abushiri not being, not having a united command, okay? There is this other point that there was lack of unity among the fighters, and someone has given us this point. There was no unity, and that is why Magaya of Usagara had to betray Abushiri. Okay. Rachel, are you giving us a point? Rachel?
No.
Okay. Okay, you didn't lower your hand. Okay, I can see your hands are still up, but in the interest of time, I think okay, Daphne.
Yes, sir. Sir, now I had a question.
Yes.
Sir, were the Abushiri segregated by the German? Oh.
Segregated?
Yeah, segregated.
Are you talking about segregation? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Now the Germans had not yet taken over Tanganyika, meaning that they had not yet started ruling Tanganyika. So segregation was not there. So the Germans, I mean the Tanganyika, the people of Tanganyika were fighting for their, were fighting to protect their independence. They were independent at the time. So there was no segregation. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let me try to add on what I was giving you. There is this other point. The German army was well trained, yes, but of course, when you look at Africans, they were not trained. Remember, we said the one under a man who was the sugarcane planter who did not train them. Then Abushiri fighters lacked determination. Yes, that is another point. They were not determined. And where there is no determination, success is impossible. Where there is no determination, success is impossible. And I will tell you, once you are not determined, you might not succeed in your academics. So you must be determined. Determination is a key to success. And we are saying the Abushiri fighters were not. Determined. Yes, we have this other point here that Abushiri's army was not big enough. Now we are looking at numbers. Abushiri's army was not big enough. And what happened? They were defeated simply because of the numbers. The Germans were many compared to the fighters that Abushiri had. Then we have this other point here that Abushiri retreated into the interior. He hired the Maviti mercenaries, okay, who did not know why they were fighting and fought with a low morale. We talked about this. The Maviti mercenaries didn't know why they were fighting, and because they didn't know why they were fighting, they did not put in the match they were supposed to put in. Oh, okay. Abushiri going to the interior after being defeated at the post made him lose support from the local people. Indeed, yes. Remember, I told you Abushiri left the post and went to the interior, where he had the Rugaruga and the Maviti. But of course, in the interior, he never had the support there. That is why he was easily defeated. There is this other point. The Germans had Lutherans, Zulu, Somali, Nubian, Takshimas, troops who defeated Abushiri. Yes, the Germans were reinforced. They had the Nubians, the Somalis, the Zulus, and to attack him in the fight against Abushiri, who never had this reinforcement. Okay. Yes, Casper, you can see your hand up.
Teacher, but if I say like this, the Germans maybe like use ruthless ways of fighting, like they use the scorched earth policy that made the Africans to surrender. Is it correct?
Yes, it is correct. It is correct. The scorched earth policy destroyed everything that the Africans had. And instead of Africans fighting, they were trying to reorganize themselves because all they had been destroyed by the Germans under the scorched earth policy. Mark.
The Germans, when the Germans supported by the Arabs and Swahilis, when Abushiri retreated into the interior.
Sorry, Mark, the Germans did what?
Weren't the Germans supported by the Arabs and Swahilis when Abushiri retreated into the interior?
Indeed, it is true. When Abushiri retreated into the interior, the Germans now were supported by the Arabs. You remember I told you that the Arabs instead decided to make peace with the Germans. The Arabs made peace with the Germans the moment Abushiri retreated into the interior. And that is one of the reasons why Abushiri was defeated. Okay. Okay, I want to wind up because our time is almost up. There is that one. When he retreated into the interior, he was cut off from the trade and supply of guns. Yes, remember the guns were coming into the interior from the coast. And when he went into the interior, he never had the supply of the guns. Then there was Abushiri never had supporters in the interior. And that is why he was defeated. Then some tribes easily gave in to the Germans. Like they surrendered. Okay, that's who was surrendered. You remember, okay, there is this Chief Mukubwa who also surrendered him. You also remember Bwana Harris surrendering, and all of these ones contributed him to the defeat of Abushiri. Then the rebellion was poor organized. Okay, poor fighting tactics and all of that. Poor fighting tactics, poorly organized. This also contributed to the defeat of Abushiri. Then we also have that one, national outlook. Like the rebellion never had that national outlook. Okay? Like people thought it was an Arab revolt. At the cost, and that is why they don't actually divisions. Someone talked about divisions. These people were divided, okay, and because they were divided, they were easily defeated. Then they didn't put in a lot. We are talking about outbreak of famine. Yes, there was a famine which affected the fighters, and at the end of the day, they were defeated. Then the Abushiri never had a strong economy to sustain the war. That is why he was easily defeated. Then the topography, someone talked about this, that the area was flat. There was nowhere for these people to hide. At the end of the day, they were easily defeated. They could be shot by the Germans who are using the guns. Then the Germans were determined. Yes, that point we talked about it, and I've talked about it. The Germans used cruel methods to suppress the revolt, which intimidated the would-be resistors. Yes, and they were easily defeated. Then the peace treaty Abushiri signed with the German East African Company was broken by Wiesmann. Remember, there was a treaty that was signed by Abushiri and the German East African Company, but it was broken by Wiesmann. The cruelty of the coastal leaders, yes, that one also contributed. Lack of leadership, especially after the death of Abushiri. Then Abushiri lacked modern communication gadgets, yes, and the lack of modern communication gadgets contributed to the defeat of East Africans. Okay, thank you. From the chat, Abushiri employed Maviti fighters. We have looked at that. Lack of nationalism, yes, we have looked at that. That is from Aneti. Thank you. From the chat here. Oh, someone was asking that what are clubs? Clubs, should I call them sticks that have got big ends, like a stick with an end that is big. It has got a part that is big. Yeah, that is a club, but a stick with some part of it being bigger than the rest of the stick. That is a club. Okay. Okay. All right. So we've come to the end. We've come to the end of this lesson. We are past time, and I would like to thank all of you who have listened to me. And we will be meeting up next time. That is same day, same time. Work is, I mean, the notes are going to be uploaded on the Google Classroom. You will just go there and get the notes in. And then we'll also have a simple activity that I will also be that I will also put in the Google Classroom. Okay. So we are ending here. Thank you so much for attending this lesson. We catch up again next week on the same day. Okay. All right, Mr. Rogers, I think we can end the lesson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Busuulwa, for the good lesson that you have given. All the students, thank you very much for attending. We are going to be having another lesson for senior 3 that is going to be at 2. We are going to be having biology. Yeah, so you should be able to come back, go to the Google Classroom and look for any assignments that have been given. Let us see you later on. Mr. Busuulwa, you click on the end button and the meeting will end.